One, we sincerely express our gratitude towards your acceptance and for the session always shared with us.
I will be talking about generally a lot has been talked about that for the last several decades that we need to create habitats for tigers. We have created habitats, and not only habitats, but we have also created as protected areas, especially designed for wildlife and tigers. And we spend a lot more money now, about 280 crores and maybe more, for these special habitat for forest areas which is set aside for tigers. And I see it has done wonderful work, it's been successful, but it's a very exclusive conservation model that we have started with. But now, because it has been successful, we have not taken advantage of those successes to take the conservation level further. There are still a lot of tiger habitat which is outside, and that's also looking desperately that we need tigers there. We will be talking about the inclusive versus exclusive conservation model. The exclusive is the hypothesis is that tigers need forests, and we have created protected areas like national parks, sanctuaries, tiger reserves, and things like that. And then inclusive, which is forest need tigers, so non-protected tiger forest. And we will go through very quickly. There is not much time, but I'll see how much I can do. And then also we will look into how tiger can add value to this forest, and can these value help us rebuild the local economy? Because we've been looking at a lot of debates about the rural economy in distress, and it is in distress, and it's even worse in areas where tigers are. So the tiger forests are very remote, development has not reached. We live in 2019, but these communities there are still living maybe in 60s and 70s. The GDP, if you look at it, our growth may be 6-7%, but if you look at village economy at that level, either not growing or maybe in negative, because their source of income was entirely on three major sources of income if you can look at. One is agriculture, which is, we know, in distress. Then labor, which is not there anymore, so they have to migrate. And also the forest resources that they used to use. So animal husbandry, livestock. So all these things are in, there's a need that we need to rebuild the economy. Next. 1995 to 2005 on tigers. And all this work which I will be talking, it's just one part of it which has been described in details in the Emerald Tiger Forest. I got a few copies here. If somebody wants, they can have it very quickly. If you want to look into more details about the book. Next one. First, I will put, we have been, for last few years, we've been doing almost more than a decade, we've been doing tiger census, tiger estimates rather. Every 4 years we've been doing since 2006. First report came out in 2008. And there have been numbers been given 1400, 226 in 2010, 2014 they are 1700 plus, and 2018 they are now saying close to 3000 tigers. Now, there is a lot of debate, and I think Ullas is not here, but Ullas is the last person. There are a lot of critiques about this work which is being done, the methodology that's been used. So I am not the right person into going into details of it, but my problem is with the celebrations that happens, because it creates a wrong perception. And nowadays, in this era, we generally live in wrong perception. And if I look at this data more closely, actually I am not able to read the report. Because every time I read a couple of pages, then I get so frustrated and I kind of clear my head and I throw it. My book is that all the reports are being torn into pieces because I so get angry with it. Because even in 2008 before, the first report when I started reading, there is a summary table. And what I needed is how much area they have covered. I wanted to know. I went through the whole report. There is no information how much square kilometer the area there. So the next step is in how many areas they come from. So okay, there is some report. There is a figure that in Shivalik there is 5,177 square kilometers. So then I go to Shivalik and read it. First paragraph, there is a text which says 9,000 something square kilometers. Then because there is a table there, then it's about 8,000 something. So I don't think even authors have gone through the report. So it's absolutely not reliable. So I'm not going into that details of it. But my problem is that they have kind of a hidden few things purposely. And for me, it feels like going through all the report. I think tile numbers have not increased from 2006, or if it has increased marginally. But the way they have done it very cleverly, it creates a perception that there is a 30% and we have doubled the tiger numbers. So in say in 2018 they have covered the entire tiger habitat, say 100%. 2008 they must have done, because there is no figure, so I am speculating, they have done say 60% of the tiger habitat. 2010 they have done 80% of this. So you have increased in areas, and the increase in area is in 100,000 square kilometers. So numbers of tigers have gone up because of that, or not. Even if it's tiger numbers are the same in 2001, because we have covered total area, tiger number have come up. They have not said that there is an increase in which areas. Then in 2014, all the tigers habitat has been covered. But now in 2016, when the whole tiger area has been covered, what will they do? The problem was, so they, and the Prime Minister will be, now the increase has to match the personality who is going to do. So they were very clever. So they included the younger class. So that's the other part of it. My problem is that by doing this, they are creating a kind of perception, and we in conservation science we call it conservation amnesia, which is basically a syndrome of shifting baseline. So you had there was a report somewhere said that there are 40,000 tigers at the time of the century, and then in 1969, when IUCN General Committee happened in Delhi, we said there are 2,500 tigers. It shocked the world because the baseline for 40,000 to 2,500 was drastic. And it was drastic enough to continue to take drastic measures. And we created Project Tiger and things like that. But now they have cleverly shifted the baseline from 2,500 to 1,400. And so if you look at this from baseline to 3,000, you double the numbers. That's how it's been created, a perception. And I feel tiger number may not have increased, but they have created a perception that has been hugely successful program. And so the perception is also, go to the next slide, and this is what the Prime Minister says, Babu mein bahar hai. And thus, without actually having an increase, we have actually created a perception that the tiger numbers have gone. And then in fact they're saying that we have achieved the target. Now, the second perception is now being created. Beyond that, now there are some of the people who are involved in the estimates and are planting studies in the media. We go to the next one, which says there's a print article which has come, which says India forests don't have space for more tigers. So we have done our job, conservation is done, but we don't need to worry about tigers anymore. There's no more tigers we can have. Yes. And that's a very dangerous thing. And we all know it's still hanging on barely. So if you look at this figure, that's how what's happening to the tiger population has happened over the last 150 years. And now it occupies only 7% of the original range. And that's why I'm saying it's barely hanging on to its existence. And the range extinction is the first sign of extinction threat. So if you want to stop extinction, we need to reverse this. So we have to now happen, this is up to maybe 2010, we need to redo it. It should go in reverse in next 2 decades or 3 decades, and it actually goes back. Next one. And if you look at the tiger habitat, is huge. And I think this is approximately, it's not 3,000 now. The last report it says that they have estimated there is about almost 400,000 square kilometer tiger habitat. And so if you extrapolate from the average density which they have given us as 3,000 tigers, we can have about 15,000 to 20,000 tigers. That's in uniformly distributed. But I think realistically, very comfortably, I can say that 5,000 to 6,000 is a very realistic probability that we can have. So for me, looking at the baseline where we started 2,500, if you would have had now, after 5 decades, almost half a century of conservation work, money and money we have given, provided, legal support system we have provided, the expertise we've been generated, we should have been very happy and celebrating that if we had 5,000 or 6,000. But we now creating a perception is by having 200 or 300 more targets and saying that it's next one. But what the biggest success of tiger is in conservation in India is not numbers. That doesn't excite me much. The thing which excites me most is that if you look at the tiger distribution, the lighter color one is towards the distribution of tigers. The lighter green one is where you have the tiger in 2014. If you look at it, it still occupies all the geographies. Our distribution is still intact. It's in patches, but it is intact. Not many conservation programs in the world is able to do that. If you look at some of the large, so there will be a patch here, there will be a big patch there, there will be a big patch there. And if you want to restore, then it's a big problem. Whereas in India, if each patch can grow like a mushroom, fungal growth, it can very easily, Central India can be a huge patch of tiger, and then Western Ghat is another one, and then Tarai Arc is another one. And it's very, very possible to do it. And I think that the biggest success of it is keeping the distribution intact, because it allows us to have double the numbers and double the range. So instead of 7%, we can have 14% area occupied by tigers. But if you look at the dark patches, these are tiger reserves which we have created. Now these are exclusive areas which we have left for tigers. The problem with exclusive areas is that the conservation is very successful within the boundary. Outside the boundaries, it has no reach. There is no access for conservation to do. Outside, we have left people to participate in conservation on voluntary basis. We go and tell them it's good for you to have tigers in tigers. Not in mind, but in yours. So we need a conservation model that provides the conservation that reach to these non-protected areas. And these dark areas, the exclusive model, has been very successful. It has done considerable amount of work, biodiversity conservation, population. So we have not taken advantage of that. And we need a model which also takes advantage of our success stories. In India, we prepare too much of our problems and threats, but we don't give too much time thinking about our success, how to take advantage of those successes. So we are 3 notches or 4 steps up. If something happens, we don't go back minus. We still where we started. So we need to plan and take advantage of success. Outside the protected areas, there are people. And the success of conservation can only be with the goodwill of the people. And that means we have a model where we have thrown out everybody out. Here we want to do conservation, and here people we can't throw them out. It has to be a model, a different model, an alternative model. It brings in the community with us. And it is better the communities, see, usually we have a fence, there is a people on this side, we created and wildlife on the other side. Actually, the communities and wildlife should be on our side of the fence. That's what we want. We want to draw a fence where wildlife is on this side and communities on this side. And then we can fight together. But we have created a fence between these two. That's something the conservation model, green conservation model has to change. And also what we need a model that runs parallel. It's not either or. So we created something because we have 5 years, 50 years of conservation we have done in these dark green areas. So we create a model that strengthens its survival, improves its function. So a model that I call it inclusive conservation. So if you look at Madhya Pradesh, the Central and Asian, Central Indian landscape, so the green is the forest cover, the red, light red is the tiger distribution, and if you look at darker red, that's the tiger reserve. So if you can create, so there is a lot of potential. If you work on this will become larger. If you work in this will become larger. So if you get somewhere, so it all of a sudden it becomes a connectivity. You can have the connectivity. So because they are isolated, one I said the expansion of range, then connectivity is very important. So we need to create those connectivities. We need to expand the range, and we need to make each of these dark areas viable, demographically viable. These are 3 urgent needs that we need to do. Next one. So the goal of non-productive areas becomes very, very crucial for us. So we need to look at this range. The science says is the one of the earlier thread. We need to expand the range. So how are we going to do the scale mismatch to allow? Because what is happening is that the tiger need require an amount of area. If it less than what is provided by protected area, then it's not viable. That's the problem. That we call scale mismatch. So that is the reason why population is not. So tiger need maybe say 100 square kilometers, we provided only 800 square kilometers. Then it's not going to be viable. But you can't make it now another 400 added to it, because it's not possible. Then you have to throw people out. So we need a support system, an alternate system where people are on our side, everybody, and then make it viable. The 800 square kilometer, make it viable. So that's something that we need to look at. Is buffer the solution? For me, is a maybe 2 hours talk. So I don't believe in buffer, but it's not the time, but we will carry on next. So my critique of this whole 4-year program, the yearly thing is we've been doing for 5 years, we spend huge amount of money there. What I don't see is that the roadmap going forward. What are you going to do with this number? I don't see a policy being made based on these numbers or the information that has been collected over the years. So that this is the number, this is what happening. If it is increase happening, where it is happening, what we are going to do, where it is declining, where the tiger occupied area has disappeared, new areas have come in, what we are going to do. That roadmap is not happening. We need to do that. So if you look at it, there was a debate in internet. There is a list where it was happening. There is a National Tiger Conservation Authority. Guy said that this is what we have done. This is the achievement. So I'm listing it in brief. Now, out of these, all the listing which has been done, which is mainly guidelines and creation of this, creation of that, only 2 of them makes actions partially address those 3 major issues of range expansion, scale reliability, and the connectivity. So, because they have not used the information in planning, this vision is missing in our national tiger conservation authority. And I think it's something they need to address very, very quickly. Next. Now, outside protected areas, it's mainly territorial forests, including buffer. There we need goodwill, and how we can generate goodwill. Because if I am a villager, my agriculture is not viable, my livestock is not, husbandry is not viable, there is no labor, I am struggling to live, my present is not suitable, I am not looking for future. And if you have a tiger or a wild boar coming to my property, I don't want additional burden on my survival. So if I go and talk to them about having tigers, conservation is not going to happen. So to generate the goodwill, we need to provide them cash in hand. And I'll give you an example just to address this. Because if somebody has to cook food today, he will go and cut a tree or something, he would go and collect the firewood and cook it. He won't think that 10 years down the line there will not be firewood. 10 years down the line, the situation comes, he will deal with it later. He will have to deal with it now the way he best he could do. And so his budget is only a week or 10 days. It's not future everything 10 years. And I run a hotel, so I was there and I was on Saturday that I would give a bonus to my staff. So I said I will have a meeting with them and ask them how they do. So I said, how do you want to lump sum? Everybody wanted something. Because every day they're hard on cash. They wanted it. So I said, what are you going to do? So the program planning for them lasted to finish it in 1 month's time. Because next month another installment is going to come. So I said, if I don't give it and I give you 50,000 a day, this is what I will do. So their vision changed. Somebody said he will do repair or will last for a year. Somebody said I will have a medical insurance I will do. Somebody said something else. So all of a sudden, vision changes. So that's something we need to do. So we have to provide them compensate and basically cash in hand in some way in the rural economy, make it more viable and sustainable for them to think, start thinking about future. And then once you start providing an incentive to community, then you can target them, work with them to bring in desired behavioral changes, which is conservation oriented. So how you bring that money, and so you have to build new economies. The economy has to be conservation based economy, which is tiger friendly, nature friendly, these areas. The next one. I will not go into detail. The conflict is really bad for tigers. It's again another job for me, and I shall run myself. It's not bad for tigers, but we always see this as a problem. I see as an economic issue because if you look at it, there may be more people are killed by cows on the roads by accidents and injuries, but then the tiger in a year. So it's a matter of perception, but we don't see them as a threat. So this is economy with work desired. So once you have sorted out their economic situation, the conflict can be a lot can be addressed. And also, if you look at it, where are the good practices which minimize conflict with tigers? These only exist where tigers survive. Because if tiger is there, there is a need to have a practice which minimizes the conflict with tigers. If tiger has disappeared, then there is no need. So there are other practices which will come up without in the absence of tigers, which may not be very friendly for the people. Maybe tiger is not effective, but for the people is not. But when the tiger appears, then the conflict becomes very high. So there is no point us going back to the traditional approaches which they used to have, because the generation has moved on. We need to find contemporary solutions to address the conflict. So basically what we need to do is we have to play conservation politics. We deal in the only way in non-protected areas, if we can do conservation, is people on our side, and then we have to play politics with the political and economic development. And that politics has to be played with people on our side. So we have to address the conflict issues, and that I think is the economic, by building economics we can do. Whatever we do in non-protected areas, the benefit has to go to the community. The primary beneficiary of those conservation actions has to be community, not the wildlife. Wildlife will come later on. But even though there is no tiger so I can give you an example. Scotland earns about 4.5 billion from walkers only. Without having tigers, leopards, elephants, a year they earn. So we not need to have tigers to develop that economy. It is possible. We can do that. So basically, we use this incentive for community to participate with us, and I think tourism can play I mean, can be a driving engine to bring in those incentives. Poaching is another issue that I will not discuss now. So, can wildlife tourism turn into a conservation tool? And we have discussed, I think some of you were there, as far as I'm concerned, I think we will not have to explain. But I think there should be a question mark there. But in India we have not used it as a tool, and it's turned into a threat. We need to turn around it. We can't undo what we have done in our area, but if we're going to not protect the area, we have to have a completely different conservation model. So that's what we don't want. This has happened in protected areas. It shouldn't have happened. It's very difficult to undo. This can only be undone if we do outside conservation area. So the problem is that in India, in the world, there are maybe 10 places where you can go and see tigers. If you have maybe 200 places, then we wouldn't have that problem. Okay? We reach there, Panna tiger is on there, Panna tiger is reached there.
So then it becomes a wildlife corridor. Does it become a wildlife corridor?
Yeah, it becomes a wildlife corridor without managing as a corridor. By only very small proportion or part of the area that is domain of someone is making, then it becomes wild. Imagine a tiger has to move from here to here, 300 square kilometers, wild problem. 800 square kilometers, which may not be, because of state mismatch is not possible. So the science is behind this planning process, this concept that we can use. So I call it as set right habitat that we create. So we can address the three major conservation threats to tigers: connectivity, viability, and so next one. So this is just an example. I don't know whether you can see it of three parks, which are just to give how much money is being generated and local people. There is an example of Ranthambore. It is state funded. So total revenue it generates is about 34 crores, and area is about 250 square kilometers. And if you look at this Lewa Conservancy, it generates something like 641 crores rupees. And look at the number of tourists. These are 400,000, 4 lakhs of tourists, whereas 9,000 tourists. And you generate a lot more money. So there are different models which we can run. And different models. And this, the Old Pachita is a branch, cattle branch with wildlife. So you can have your wildlife with cattle and still make more money. So it generates 55 crores, even more than all purely wildlife. So there are different models. So what we want in India, we right now have one conservation model, which is protected areas. Unfortunately, the land it belongs to nature land, it belongs to the forest, mother zone or managed by forest department. So if it works fine. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Whereas in other areas, in Africa or in other areas, you have multiple land ownership. You have private people, communities, corporate, organizations, and they all have developed different, based on their interest, their skill development, hundreds of different kinds of conservation models. Very commercial also, completely community oriented, cattle ranching, different models are there. We work in India also have hundreds of different models. Some will fail, some will work, and we will grow from there. Because the protective area based model is very successful, and we have not taken advantage of it. And that's right time to take this away and make different conservation models which are inclusive. So the key is that the people are understand. Thank you.
Which place has the good balance between tourism, conservation, and revenue generation, and also keeping communities in mind?
What place?
which place, like which outside in the world, like which has the best balance?
Oh, there are quite a lot of areas. There's quite a lot of we need to learn from New Zealand. This will be an example in many places. There are some states in Australia, it's got Africa, it's got Uganda, Rwanda, yeah, much ahead in terms of what they are doing in conservation and support community. And revenue is 11 billion. And if I look at Madhya Pradesh, I was comparing to the geographical area and UK geographical area is comparable. Livestock density is comparable. Human density is also comparable. And look at the productivity of the agricultural land, look at the productivity of livestock in terms of what money we need. There's something wrong. You know, actually in our field, other than organized dairy, animal husbandry, we don't do anything. We have the highest maybe density, number of livestock, not density, number of livestock, but there is no animal husbandry. It's one of the most, and actually it's detriment. So we have not even trained our Yadav or community to hold how make it product. Any other questions? Thank you very much.